Okay, so officially welcome to this session. Nice to have you here. Giselle, Sally, thanks for inviting Giselle. Okay, yeah, let's dive into today's teaching, shall we? What I do is I'll send out an email every day with an inspirational quote, and there's a little bit of teaching around that, a message. So we'll have a look at that, do some reading. We read off the screen, and then it takes us into a lesson. So we work, I don't know if Sally told you, we work with A Course in Miracles, which is a book, a very big, thick book. Are you familiar with that?
No, but Sally, because I've connected with Sally on Facebook. I don't know Sally, but it's just the quotes that she's putting, which are really, really lovely, and I've liked that. And then she was talking about the Course in Miracles, and then she mentioned about the fact that you do this, and I was like, oh, okay, and so that's how it's transpired, literally over the last 2 weeks, really, in all honesty. And then she mentioned that you can join on a daily basis at this, I think it's at 12:30, is it? Yeah
12 Monday to Friday.
And then I was trying to do all the joining and stuff like that, and that's I said it's about the master. I thought, oh, and then Sally just sent the Zoom, and I thought that's all I needed. That was great.
Yeah, that was funny because there was one of the quotes, because I don't normally share the Course in Miracle quotes, but there was one I particularly shared, and a lot of people responded to it. So then I, halfway down the chat, didn't I, Gazelle? I said, does anybody else do the Course in Miracles? And then a few people started chatting with me about it, which was lovely. It was just very organic, and it wasn't intentional to, get anybody else to join. It just happened. So that was really lovely.
Yeah, well, that's the way this has really happened. Organically, I haven't done much marketing, to be honest. So let me just share my screen. I spent most of the time developing content. So it's a 1-year program. We're at day 272, I think, today.
Sure.
Something like that. Less than 272. And that's 1-year mind training transformation program, which you can, if today interests you and you'd like to dive deeper into it, you can join us for 3 weeks at no charge. Just jump in, give it a go, see how it works for you, or you can wait until the masterclass and do that. And we restart the program at day 1 in February. So it's not that far away, so you could wait until then.
Yeah.
Many options. Okay, so Sally, if you can kick it off with reading the quote for today.
The sculpture is already complete within the marble block before I start my work. It is already there. I just have to chisel away the superfluous material. Superfluous, that's it. Superfluous material. Michelangelo. Yeah, you often hear this quote, don't we? And it really gives me the image in my mind of taking off those layers of baggage, energy, belief from myself, like the layers of the aura I see as the chiseling away and getting to the true self. So yeah, I do like that quote.
Well, it's a fantastic pointer. Spiritually, this is saying to us, well, we're already the the perfect sculpture. David is universally acknowledged as probably the most perfect human form that's ever been sculpted. It's the proportions, the dimensions, it's absolutely perfect. And that was already there. That's what he's saying. It was already there in the block, and he just had to cut away what wasn't there, which is an interesting approach to it. And that's exactly the approach we're taking here. So it points us directly to the fact that our true self already exists within us, and also tells us how to reveal it. It's a masterpiece of love's making or creation. So It's chiseling away what we don't want. So that's really there's a fundamental philosophical distinction here between there's two kinds of this so-called growth work. Giselle, the one kind is, I'm not good enough quite yet, but if I keep working at it, I'll get there. Right? So like I'm trying to become something more. So that's often in personal growth, that's what people are trying to do. You're not quite there yet, but someone or something, this program will help you get where you want to go and achieve your goals, and then you're going to be a better, more fulfilled, happier person. And there's always some kind of promise. We'll deliver better health or more wealth, or usually some kind of material form has to change in order for that to happen. So I've done all of that, lots of personal growth in my life, and it never really fulfilled me, I have to say, because you're always looking and seeking. It's you're on another treadmill. Really, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm coming from a place of lack. I'm not okay. I'm going to try and fix my my somewhat dysfunctional self, and I can become a better self. And that's not this approach. The spiritual approach, saying, look, you're already perfect. You just have to accept that. And in the accepting of your perfect self, you have to reject everything that's not perfect. So you have to cut away the superfluous material, as Michelangelo put it, which doesn't belong, which is not the perfect self. The rough edges and the imperfections need to be chiseled and honed away to reveal this. That's already there. It's it just needs to be discovered. So now you're coming from a place of sufficiency, and I already am that, and I just need to let go of that which I'm not, as opposed to I'm dysfunctional and I'll try and be a better self. And I mean, psychologically, that makes a massive difference, which one you buy into. Personal growth is a huge industry. It's probably bigger, but true spiritual self-realization, the capital self, takes the second approach, and they actually split. They don't go in the same direction. You need to make a choice as to which way you're going, which hopefully after the session you might say, okay, that does this resonate, does it make sense, and this is the way I want to go, which then takes you on what we call a hero's journey. So
I just invited a friend of mine, Nancy Ryan. You might see her in the thingy just to join. I just sent her the link.
Okay, great. If she joins.
She just said I'm just going to go and get my laptop.
Okay, great.
So, but if you see her name, Nancy Ryan, she's going to join. Yeah.
She'll join us shortly. Great. So there's the hero's journey, which is a diagram that kind of frames the teaching of a guy called Joseph Campbell, who studied various mythologies, various religious traditions, and he found that there was really one story in all of them, and that story he called the hero's journey. And it's a story really of awakening to ourselves. Know thyself and seeking yourself. This is the ancient call. On the Temple of Apollo at Delphi in ancient Greece, they have the inscription, know thyself. So people would go there, wanting some kind of help and guidance from the oracle, but it was there to remind them that the whole purpose of this is to know yourself. It's not to fix your broken life and get some kind of magical assistance necessarily with a particular problem. The real journey is to learn who you are. And so that's the spiritual core, that self that's already there but has been obscured. So we sit in a known world, most of us. So let's take your situation. The corporate slavery that you were experiencing, so we call it, was the known world. You knew that very well, but it wasn't really working for you. And there were signs, but you didn't listen to them, and then eventually you have a burnout, and that is a call to adventure. So it looks often like a crisis on the level of form, and if you misinterpret it, you go, oh, this is terrible, it shouldn't be happening. But actually it should be happening, because it's necessary for you to undertake the hero's journey. Every hero must have a call to adventure, which then calls them to make a change and to move out of that known world and into the unknown, where their lessons begin. That's where they can really start to learn. And that's not necessarily going anywhere physically, but often there is a change of life circumstances. So as in your case, you want, okay, I'm out of the corporate world, and now I'm exploring. I'm looking at other things. And then there's this threshold you've got to go through, where you go, okay, am I up for this? There's always people and forces in this world will say, no, don't do it. Stay in the known world and stay there. Oh, you don't want to lose your job and usually financial concerns and all of that. And so those are what we call the threshold guardians. You probably experienced some of that are trying to stop you from the transformation and from shifting. But if you're willing and you say, no, look, I know this is so unpleasant. This is hell. I don't want to be there. So the only way is forward. And you go through that, and then the journey starts in earnest. You have various challenges and temptations along the path, because your ego, which is the part that identifies you as this known person. You're in a box. You're a limited self. You're defined by your worldly identity. You're defined by other people's perceptions of you, your worldly roles, often your money, status, things. These are the kinds of self-concepts that we have. And the ego's saying, no, stay there. It's always trying to pull you back. But there's something in you that's calling you to go forward, to discover this, this authentic self. And fortunately, you will get mentors and helpers and guides on the way. So like, Sally pops in, and obviously you're seeking it as well. You start to hang out in places like Facebook groups where you get these quotes and subscribe to things and go on courses, and so you open yourself to that, and the mentors and the helpers and the guides are there because they need it to help you through the challenges and the temptations on the journey, which is why it's a hero's journey, because it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would just snap their fingers and go, oh, well, that's my true self. And of course I get it. It's a lifelong journey, and it takes you eventually to the place of what's called the abyss, which is the death of the ego. So the death is the death of your old self. It feels like you dying, but you're not dying. You're actually being reborn into who you really are. That's necessary. So the death of the old self is necessary for the transformation into the new self. Just like the caterpillar can't continue. The caterpillar must die for the butterfly to be born. That's the analogy. Then we come, on the other side of that. Now that can be a very intense, difficult process. I've been through it. Sally's probably been through it. It can be. You can feel like your whole world's falling apart because the old world is falling apart and the old self is falling apart, and you realize that old self has to go. There's Nancy. In order to discover who you really are. I remember a few years ago I was going, Jesus, to myself. I remember the voice in my mind saying, this stuff's going to kill you. I was talking about all this, this stuff I was doing a course in. This stuff's going to kill you. And I just paused and I went, yeah, well, that's kind of the whole point. That the separate self's got to go conceptually, but when it's actually happening, then you feel like death is coming upon you, because that old identity has got to die in order to be reborn into the spirit. And this is, as Joseph Campbell saw, the universal call. Let's just say hello to Nancy. Hi, Nancy. Welcome. We're just in flow, but thanks for joining us.
Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
Where are you? Can't see it.
No, camera. I'm just working it out.
Okay.
Welcome.
This will very much resonate with the journey that we are on. And so that's why I quickly sent you the link, because I thought, okay, this will be great. It'll resonate with you.
Well, we're all on, whether you like it or not. If you're actually shifting and growing, even if you're stuck in the known world, you're on the hero's journey. You're just at a different point in it. Even if you're very stuck, you're just there. You're in the stuck phase. You're in the known world. The hero's journey begins in earnest when you say, okay, I need to change, and there's a call, and you say, okay, I need to change things, and I need to take things up, and I've got to go on this journey of exploration. And that's what it really is. It's an inner journey of exploration. Often your life circumstances change as well. You might go different places and do different things, but really it's a journey to know yourself, know thyself. So you come out of this process, and suddenly you know actually who you are. You realize you never really knew who you were, and now you return, having done this this process of at-one-ment. I say it, not atonement, at-one-ment, because you become one with your true self, and you become one with everyone else's true self, which you realize is actually the same self. That's the whole point. There isn't really more than one of us here. There's only one of us having this seemingly separated experience, and everyone's got their unique individual journey to come to the same realization. Oh, we are one. That's the fundamental universal spiritual principle behind every authentic spiritual teaching and path, and every master's come and taught the same thing. We are one. So what does that mean to you? A concept, the theory is all very well and good. You can go, we are one, but do you actually understand that deeply? Do you live by that truth? Or is it just a spiritual platitude? Yeah, we are one, but actually I behave most of the time like I'm separate from everyone and everything else. And when you really get this, you return with what's called the gifts of the goddess, which are typically associated with the feminine energy of being open-hearted, being able to communicate from the heart space, love, empathy, compassion, and you bring the gifts back into the known world. So you don't go away and sit in a cave forever and meditate. You come back and you return to your world. And now there's other people like you who are maybe stuck in their known world who need help. And then you find a way to help them. And so the cycle continues, and you become one of the helpers and the guides in someone else's hero's journey. And so we're all actually on the hero's journey, interacting with each other. And in this one process, which is about the awakening of everyone to the same self, the same truth, which is quite amazing and beautiful when you understand what's going on, and everyone's journeys are intersecting, and somehow it's all perfectly orchestrated by a presence. We call it in the Course in Miracles, we call it the Holy Spirit. It's really the remembrance of this oneness. It's remembrance of the awareness of oneness that's guiding this whole thing, and that has brought you here. And why you're listening to these words, and if it's resonating with you, then it's that spirit that's saying, yeah, that makes sense. I get it. I'm starting to understand. There's Nancy. Hi, Nancy, welcome. Thanks for joining us. So yeah, any thoughts or comments on that before we carry on with the teaching? I just took a little diversion there, but Sally doesn't mind, I'm sure, because we have some, it's lovely to have some new people actually.
I think the thing is that I recognize, like, where you've got that threshold, and then you start pushing through that. What we class it in our own terminology is around resistance.
Yeah.
And it's that resistance of change, that resistance of, oh goodness. And as you've said, it's like you get people around you, and, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do this? However, but there's just there's something so deep inside that fundamentally has to change, and that no matter what everybody's actually saying,
you gotta do it.
And it's more about, I think for them it's more around fear. However, it's just such a calling that whatever path that was you on, it cannot no longer continue. And something fundamentally has to change, and it has to change within in order. However, that transformation, we come up against resistances, because like further down you talked about that it is that ego that we've lived by, and instead of living from our head space, we're really tapping into inwardly, and so you do get a death of what was the old identity, and the rebirth of what you're transforming into, and accepting and aligning to, and what I guess that you feel more at home with, in regards to our sort of ourselves.
Well summarized. That's exactly what the hero's journey is.
Yeah. And then you're going through that transformation, and as you say, I mean, I know Nancy's gifts. She can tell you herself, but I know her gifts, and I know, and I'm learning and stepping into acknowledging the gifts, and also sort of learning and tapping back into the natural intuition that I've had, which I've suppressed and ignored and completely put to one side in order to conform into society's expectations and peer pressure and, you know, family pressure and all those sort of things. It's just that, and as you said, it takes a crisis, or it takes some sort of something that is a catalyst which brings you to really take a really good look and a review of where you're at. And that's because your soul and your spirit and it's all that is so disconnected, and you just, you know, and it's about bringing that back into, but really that deep discovery around, you know, what really lights you up, you know, what desires do you actually really have, what is it, and also accept the journey that you've gone on to bring you to where you are now. And so, you know, I can sort of see where I'm at the moment, and I'm loving it. I'm really open to, and there's some things that will resonate with me, and I think, yeah, I can accept that. And there's some things that I think, nah, that just doesn't align with me, and that's absolutely fine, because it'll align with other people. And that's the uniqueness about us all. We're all on our own unique journey
to the same destination. That's, you know, that's how it works.
Exactly.
Your hero's journey is unique to you, and you've got to figure it out. That's why it's a hero's journey. No one can say, oh, well, this is the next step and this is what you got to do. It's not a cookie cutter, you know, model, but that kind of makes it interesting and inspiring. Some people say, well, it's a bit boring, everyone's one, but in the process of getting there, your life can become very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Extremely, you know, the things that happen, the people you meet, the places you go to, you go, wow, that's actually, you know, it's quite an interesting journey that's unfolding, that it'll take you on. So it's certainly not boring. In fact, it's going to test you to the very core. That's the whole point. It's got to test you to the very core of your being.
Yeah, so I think we, you know, well, certainly I can attest to that. And you know, each day you think, oh gosh, okay. And I think what it is around acceptance and just leaning into what today is going to bring and reveal, and what comes up, and feel it and let it go through and accept it and think, okay, but it is part of that growing. Because for me, I recognize just how much I've had to suppress of myself through the 55 years of my being, that of this lifetime, never mind all the past lifetimes and the generational past lives and all those sort of things. It's just this. And so, you know, it's open to finding exactly at the core of who I am. And you had that image of you know, the sculptor, and it's that chipping away of you know, those layers. And it's not, when you think about the craftsmanship like that, it doesn't just happen overnight. It takes a while to get to that. And then the, you know, in the perfection for me, because perfection in many ways doesn't exist, but it's what I find is actually perfect for me. It's my peace, my, you know, my soul, my, you know, that's where it's kind of finding that core. And so it all flows, and we do get all this resistance that comes up. However, what I love about this is recognizing that it's resistance, and it's the ego keeping you in it, because, you know, our subconscious wants to keep us in, you know, our comfort zone. This is the way we do things, and you're pushing it to, well, no, we're going to do something different. So you've got that push-pull thing.
It doesn't
going
like it at all. So
yeah,
it'll tell you, no, go back into the known world. You know, that was safe. That was all right. You know, you could get another corporate job, and you know, the other part of your mind that's awoken is going, no, just don't do that. You know, what you want is freedom. It's about freedom and discovering who you really are. And so, you know, go forward with this. Although, you know, there's some challenges and temptations. It's that's normal. Expect that. You know, don't expect it all to be plain sailing and suddenly la-di-da, you know, it's all going to be wonderful. No, you're going to have to go through a process of this, and it's the most testing journey anyone will ever go on.
Yeah.
The hero's journey, if you really take it, because it tests you to the very core of who you think you are, and it reveals something else. That's why it's called the hero's journey, because it's difficult, and it can be painful, and it can be lonely, and all of those things. But the beauty of this conception of Joseph Campbell is he saw the pattern. He was an extremely learned man, and he looked at all the different mythologies and spiritual teachings and stories of humanity. And he said, there's one story here, really. And he was the first one who identified this kind of archetype of the hero's journey, that this was always going on. And so you see this, and if you watch any good movie, it's probably got the hero's journey built into it. And we resonate with those movies because there's a part of us that wants to be the hero, and it resonates with the character who's got the difficulties and the struggles and needs to awaken, and they go on a journey. Think of the really epic movies, the blockbusters that have done extraordinarily well. All of those movies, the movie series, are based on the hero's journey. Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, Harry Potter, Avatar, all hero's journey right at the very core of it. And then, why are those the blockbusters? Because people watch those and they go, something in them awakens when they watch the character on the screen going through their hero's journey, and they identify with it. And Hollywood has figured this out and gone, oh, wow, hero's journey, great. If we have a good hero's journey, that's going to sell, it's going to make sure lots of people watch the movie, and it's going to be successful. So very soon after Joseph Campbell published his first book in 1949, where he put this down, Hollywood jumped on the bandwagon. A young guy called George Lucas was like, oh, wow, read the hero's journey. This is amazing. And, he wrote the Star Wars series based on the hero's journey. And then, everyone's kind of jumped on the bandwagon. And you'll see a definite shift in movie making post 1950. You should watch the movies before that. You don't really see too much of that hero's journey. Not that I've watched that many. But, and then suddenly this hero's journey and the movies kind of come alive and they become much more interesting, because you really see that, that unfolding. So it's in our, whether you're familiar with the archetype, you'll know it just from the movies you've watched. Everyone's watched many of these hero's journey movies. You just haven't been conscious of what's actually going on and why you resonate with it. And so now the thing is, you be the hero of your own life. That's the core. Don't just, most people are sort of somewhat satisfied with the vicarious entertainment. I watch 2 hours of a movie. It kind of gives me a little bit of something, and then I carry on in my own known world. But the heroes of this world are ones, okay, I'm in my own hero's journey here. And those characters on the screen inspire me in my own hero's journey to walk this path and to keep going, because the message is always, keep going and you will find it. You will break through, and you will find who you are, and you will transform. And on the other side of that lies, the true self, which is what you're looking for, and a state of mind that is much happier, much more peaceful, much more inspired, in which you can be, very helpful to other people. And then your life takes on a purpose and a meaning that it didn't have before in the known world, where you're just living in a very limited, narrow self-concept that actually isn't really adding value to others. I mean, certainly there's people that benefit from this, but it's usually in a codependent, unhealthy way. In your case, the company was using you, and in the end, that's not correct. You don't use and exploit people. What you want is trying to free them, and more enlightened employers know that. So the more enlightened employers, like the Googles and so on, try and help people to go on this journey even while they're employed, because you can do this wherever you are. So let's ask Nancy. Nancy, is this resonating with you? Any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, everything you just said really, really resonates with me, like being stuck in that known, in that known piece where everything is just safe and everyone's happy because you're in that little box. And I'm in the process of breaking free of that box and upsetting a whole load of people right now, because I've made the decision, and there is actually no going back. And once you've made that decision, well, there is and there isn't. I step out of it and then I go back into it, and I step out of it, and I'm like, I know this is my journey to do the whole go through all of this. And yeah, but it like Giselle said, you come up with resistances, your own resistance, and then there's the other people resistances. And I really resonate with the codependency of being stuck in that known thing, because it's easier for everybody. And yeah, and it's not actually, because it doesn't serve, well, it kind of serves, but it doesn't serve in a healthy way. So
it doesn't serve a true purpose. No, it serves a purpose, but it's a false purpose, because that purpose is to keep you in a box, keep you unawakened, keep you in a state of less than who you can be. Generally not very happy, and that's not what life is actually meant for.
No.
So it's a fundamental shift of who you are, your identity, your self-concept changes, and your purpose. Why are you here? Why are you here? Why be human? Why go through a whole life where you're in the box and you're not very happy? Like, what's the point of a life like that? You start to wonder.
And this is what started my journey off. Like, why would I choose this, and why carry on with it? And like you've said and commented, it's not an easy path to take, and it does challenge you to the absolute core of your being. Because many nights I'm like, why the hell am I doing this? But
you can't not do it, can you?
You can't.
The call is so strong. You've got to do it.
Exactly, and it is. The call is
for doing it eventually. It's just the resistance.
It's just when you're in the middle of it all, and there's all of these, like, I'm being pushed every single day. Something is happening, and you just think, oh my goodness. But like Sally says, you can't not do it. As uncomfortable and as unpleasant and as it is, there's this massive pull going, no, keep going forwards. So I truly, it's beautiful to see it like this.
That's why it's quite good to be in a group, isn't it? Because you're with other people and everyone's at a different stage. And then if you happen to be in the abyss down the bottom, there's somebody there going, it's all right, you're going to transform. You're right near the transformation bit. Keep going. And I think that's very comforting.
It is very comforting, because at times I think, God, am I going nuts? Am I really going mad?
We all have that. You question your sanity, you question everything, because your old world is deconstructing. And to know this, I mean, I think Joseph Campbell's great contribution was to make this known, to say, look, actually, this is how it is. This is the universal archetype of transformation that's been going on, for the entirety of human history, and it will continue. And so once you know it, you go, that's hugely comforting, because you know that, it's a process. I'm not the first person to walk this path. I won't be the last. And they all went through it. You look at the great spiritual masters like Jesus, Yeshua, I call him because that was actually his real name, and Siddhartha, the Buddha, and Lao Tzu, and Krishna, and these are like legends now, because they've been put on a pedestal after all the time, and somehow they were special gifted human beings, and they were just divine. They had to go through the same thing. It wasn't easy. Challenges, trials, temptations. I mean, Yeshua spent 40 days in the desert meditating, praying, fasting. I mean, that couldn't have been easy. He had to leave his old life behind. His family were like, what are you doing? Who do you think you are, this Messiah? And come back and be a carpenter. And he was like, no, I can't do that. I've got another call. The Buddha left his very cushy life. He was a prince. Everything was provided. He could have had a very easy, comfortable life, just living as a prince with all of his worldly desires met. And he left it all behind. He said, no, I can't, this doesn't feed my soul. And he went searching and did just about every spiritual practice that was available in India, just about killed himself. And eventually, when he gave up and said, okay, I'm tired of the search, he just gave up the search. Then he found the answer sitting under a tree. He was like, boom, bing, I actually already am that which I'm seeking. That was the insight. I always have been, but I didn't realize it. I was so busy seeking that I didn't realize that perfect self was already in me. But he needed the whole journey, the hero's journey, to go through the abyss to come out the other side. So you recognize, well, it's all perfect in its apparent imperfection. It's all necessary and perfect. And you're doing the same thing as they did. It just it hasn't been recorded in history yet, so it's still unfolding. It's a work in progress, but it's the same journey, and they did it. They got through it, so you can too. The same power that helped them will help you. It's very encouraging to know that there was nothing special or gifted about them. Other than that, I think they just persevered. They were like really deeply committed. You look at some of the things they did, like 7 years of ascetic practices, the Buddha leaving behind his cushy life. You can imagine the pushback he must have got. His father and his family are, what are you doing? You've got everything on a plate, and you're going and you're going to walk around India and beg, and like that. You can imagine the family drama that would have caused. Left his wife and child behind. I mean, huge there's huge ructions. So there were these challenges which not always recorded in the history. So Siddhartha, and he was the Buddha, but they don't record the journey to get there. And so what Joseph Campbell did is he said, okay, let's look at actually that process, and put it into this very simple model that you can now frame in one diagram. That's really, really helpful to keep coming back to and reminding yourself, okay, this is what's going on. Okay, so let's go back to our quote. So what I do every day is I send out an email with a quote and then a little bit of teaching. That's my teaching, based on teachings of A Course in Miracles, interpreting the quote. And then we go into a daily lesson, which is from A Course in Miracles, which is what you saw, Giselle, that Sally posted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's ask someone else to read. So Giselle, you can read the simple answer. In fact, read from number 1, because we kind of interrupted the flow. So included today's quote.
Okay. I included today's quote by Italian Renaissance sculptor, painter, architect, and poet Michelangelo in a message I sent earlier this week. But I think it deserves to be a headline quote because it's a wonderful analogy that points us directly to the fact that our true self already exists within us, and also tells us how to reveal this masterpiece of love's making.
Okay, anything resonate with you there?
Well, I think it's the fact that we said about, I think we, in a way, we're all, well, I can't speak for anybody else. I'm going to speak for myself, is that I'm on my journey of creating my own masterpiece of myself. And I guess my masterpiece will be very different to everybody else's. And it's my masterpiece of my core. And where I'm at the moment is around learning this concept, well, the thing around really self-loving of self. And so that's where I'm at in terms of my transformation.
Well, what you realize, it's the same. Everyone's doing the journey looks different because how your life plays out and your circumstances and your particular life situation and your gifts and challenges, and that's all unique, but it's the same masterpiece. We're all actually the same self, just chipping away, and the process of chipping away and revealing that is unique to everyone. They've got to go through the journey of doing that. So Nancy, do you want to read the next one? The simple answer. How to reveal this masterpiece of love's making. What's the simple answer to that?
The simple answer is by chipping away or letting go of superfluous, or what Yoshi called idle thoughts in ACIM, and we call false or negative thoughts in our alternative ALLG language, because they negate.
I'll explain that after you've read.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't know what that is. And negate the truth of who we really are, and instead assert that you are weak, fearful, a victim of a cruel external world, and so justifying and perpetuating this false self-concept in your mind.
Yeah. So let me explain. So Course in Miracles is a book. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a teaching of Jesus. I call him Yeshua just because we reinterpret it all. So what I've taken on, it seems, my particular call is to translate the entire book into a more accessible language for people. So instead of God, Christ, Holy Spirit, all the traditional Christian terms, we have another language, which is the AOLG, Art of Letting Go language, that suddenly reinterprets what might have been quite difficult for people to accept. A lot of people don't like the God word at all, because of associations with traditional Christianity or another sort of traditional religion. They don't like Holy Spirit, Christ. It turns them off, and so it becomes a block to what the words are actually saying. And so in the process of doing this work, and I've done, I don't know, thousands of hours of these calls with people, you start to go, well, what's working? And the reinterpretation, translating it into another language, seemed to work. So, and I just took it on and said, well, let's write it down, and let's actually, we'll create another version of the course, which is a work in progress. We do it every day. It's a new lesson, and I translate it, and then we read the translated version. And if you stick around for this whole session, you'll see, we'll go into the lesson, and you'll see the translation in the language, and you can go, well, I always include the original. So if you prefer the original, great, it's there, you can read it. But some people might, but generally most people seem to resonate much more with the alternative language, because it's just getting past some of those, the terminology, terms, words. They're just pointers, but it can be helpful pointers, they can be not very helpful pointers. So to the same thing ultimately. I'm not changing the meaning, it's actually changing the form of the words to reveal the deeper meaning. That's the point of the exercise. So yeah, that's what we do. That's part of the methodology of the Art of Letting Go. It's based on A Course in Miracles, but it's reinterpreted. So there's many ways, there's many teachings. If you go on YouTube, you'll see many Course in Miracles teachers and videos. But as far as I'm aware, no one is doing quite our approach and retranslating that language. I don't know why, because for me it seemed obvious that that's what it's calling up for. But that, I guess we all have our calling. That one's mine. So that's that's what that means. Or ALG language. Any thoughts on that passage, that paragraph?
Yeah, I can really resonate with all of that, like the chipping away, the false and the negative thoughts, negating the truth. Yeah, being fearful of a victim of a cruel external world. I can really resonate with all of that. And it's unpicking it all and chipping it away, and it's a process.
It is, and that's the hero's journey, that process. Yeah. So there's two ways that you're revealing your true self, but at the same time, simultaneously, you've got to let go of the old self. The true self is not revealed unless you're chipping away. That's why this analogy of Michelangelo is so nice, because he's saying the true self's already there, but the process is to chip and chip and chip and chisel away very, very patiently, very delicately. If you just do hammer blows, you're gonna crack the marble, and you're going to ruin it. So it's like delicate, skillful. In Buddhist teaching, they call it skillful. Skillful action, skillful thought, skillful action, to gently, slowly reveal the masterpiece that you are. And that process, just like a masterpiece like the David, will take years. It doesn't just happen overnight. And you surrender to it. This is not a quick fix, instant gratification. Sign up and the world's going to be yours in 6 weeks or whatever. No, but you might have some deeper insight into yourself, and oh wow, actually, I'm really seeing. But that's when the integration, that's when the work then continues on that point. So this is the start, not an end. And anyone who tells you otherwise, that you can do this in an hour or two and your life's going to be, it's just not realistic. It does take time. If you've been in a certain mindset, in that separate self for years and years and years, it's going to take time to undo that.
Yeah.
Generally, you can have this. There are exceptions, but that will just tend to happen spontaneously. So, like an Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if you're familiar with his journey, but he got to the age of 29 and he just couldn't stand his life anymore. He was ready to end it. He just said, I can't live with myself anymore. But he experienced 29 years of really, a lot of mental and emotional suffering. So that brought him to that point where he was ready to just drop the ego, and it kind of cracked open, and he woke up. He didn't know what had happened, but he woke up and suddenly it was gone, and he was just peaceful and happy. He didn't understand it, and then then he had to learn about what had happened and kind of make sense of the experience. So that can happen, but that was a result of a lot of pain and suffering. So his path was, okay, over and over he thought the negative thoughts, and eventually it got too much, and that's what cracked it open. So for most of us, it's more like, yeah, maybe the pain isn't as acute, but we've got to then be more conscious about transforming and consciously letting go. For him, it just happened, but it happened because he'd resisted the truth for so long. So this is a path. His path was the way of the cross, I call it, which is the way of suffering, and then eventually something happens if you're lucky, and you just get a shift. That can happen. The way of mastery is more consciously, skillfully, I'm going to consciously choose to chip away to reveal this, and that's what we call spiritual practice. We'll chip away at all the edges that shouldn't be there, and start revealing more of this true self. Okay, any other thoughts on that? Otherwise, let's move on to number 3, if you can read that for us, Sally.
It's also worth remembering that Michelangelo's greatest sculpture, the statue of David, started off as a block of marble that was twice discarded by other sculptors. When Michelangelo finally got his hands on it, the marble had been waiting for 40 years for a sculptor who could see the perfection that lay within it and have the skill and patience to reveal this perfection.
Mm.
Is that like the 40 years it's taken me to get where I am?
Well, exactly, isn't it? And it's been discarded, and the block of marble seems to be useless. And 2 people are going, oh, well, this is no good. I can't use this. It's useless. And it takes someone with the skill and the patience and the vision, and then skill and patience. That was what Michelangelo had, which is what made him the great sculptor he was. He had it all. He could see it in his mind's eye. And then he also had the skill and the patience to actually chip away and unfold that. And so it's a great analogy. That's what we have to have. The vision, and vision is good. It's a good starting point. But an unfulfilled visionary who doesn't have the willingness to actually do the work is quite common. You might know people, lots of blue sky, lots of vision, but you're not just going to patiently, consistently, persistently chip away and do the work to reveal this.
I've never really been a patient person, but since joining this program in May, it's taught me that perseverance, that doing a little bit every day. Who'd have thought I'd turn up on here nearly every day? I'd have said I didn't have time, I couldn't do it. But what you've taught me is that just one step, another step, and keep being patient and don't give up. And that is very new to me, really. I mean, EAM, when I learned EAM, I thought, oh, great, this is the answer.
This is the fast track.
Yeah, it was. It was like, oh, I can clear anything with EAM. But there's also, once you get, like you said, the 2 different types of personal development, the one where you are a better you, an individual human better. You think you're broken and you need to be fixed, so you keep clearing to try and be that perfect individual. And then the other one where you're saying, where you realize who you really are, that you are already perfect love, you are already all these things you're seeking for. And what this program does for me, it uncovers that every day. It just reminds me, the email every day that I read, the meditations are coming on here. It reminds me of who I am, but it's very easy to forget. Like I've said before, that I can go 3 days without coming on here and I start to forget. It's like amnesia happens. And I come back on here just in the energy of the group and I go, oh yeah, all right, yeah, this is home. Yeah, I'm coming home. Yeah, got it again. Don't know where that came from, but it was linked with something that was said.
Thank you for sharing. Well, this is what happens. So there's something about this modality that's amazing. I love it because it's not a monologue. I very seldom, if everyone leaves me and I've got a bit to do, I'll do the monologue, but I don't like it because it's hard work. But when you're in a discussion and an interaction, it's something that happens, and there's a group energy and stuff unfolds, and it's very interesting. It's engaging. It's people love listening to recordings because there's something fresh and unique every day, but it's one message just framed in an infinite variety of different ways. And it seems like whatever happens on each call for that day is what's meant to happen. So like our call yesterday, say, it was completely different to this one, totally different energy. That's just what was needed yesterday, and now today there's something else, and tomorrow it'll be something different. I was actually listening to, I don't know if you watched the interview with Judi Dench and Louis Theroux. Very interesting. And so her thing about theatre, the difference between theatre acting and movie acting. And she said, I much prefer theatre because it's a work in progress. Because it's not like, right, there's a final cut and that's it and it's end of. It's like, no, well, tomorrow it could be better. I could improve that. Maybe the next day it'll be different. And each performance is different. And so she really loved that. And I understand exactly what she means. And that was in the performing arts. In this, it's like, actually every day is different. Every session's different. Everything's unique. So you can't get bored. Even though it's the same material. Sometimes we repeat stuff. You can't ever get bored with it because it's just revealing. It's revealing that masterpiece of who you are, just in a way that is awesome to you. You're meant to be here on this call today and to get this message and everything. Like if I look at why did I choose this quote today, and it's perfect for today. I didn't know. I just get guided. Yes, do that, and then people show up accordingly, and it's the perfect message. And that's kind of how it works. So there's this divine intelligence, which we call the Holy Spirit, that's behind it all. It's guiding us all. And when you see that in action, you start to go, wow, that's like, there's no way my separate self can even begin to do that. So I've just got to surrender and, let it happen. So, I become much more guided and surrendered than, the personal growth mindset. I'll do this. I'll be the conscious manifester. I'll make it happen so that I get the outcome I want, so that I become the better, more fulfilled, happier self I want to be. With this, it's like, I don't really have a clue, to be honest. I don't know how to do it, which is a good thing because I kind of made a bit of a mess of it. If I look at my life, honestly, if you look at, what you did in the known world, it's not really great, is it? It's not a good story. I got to tell you, it was like, well, it's a good thing I'm not really identified with my, my life story because it's not really that great. And everyone kind of laughs and says, yeah, well, if you're honest, it's not really that great. What you did on your own, it was really a bit of a mess. But you can laugh, when you see that. You go, okay, well, it was a bit of a mess, but that's good. I've realized it's a bit of a mess. And now I can step out the way and allow myself to be guided. And it's okay. There's actually a power now that actually does know what it's doing. It's in charge of my life. Thank God for that. Literally, thank God for that. And so I'm okay now because I'm just going to be guided. I'll listen. I won't be so stubbornly, because look how stubborn you've been. If you look at the known world and all the nudges and the calls you got, look at how stubborn you've been. And you just got to go, oh my goodness, what was I doing? But then you come out of it, then you go, okay, finally, this voice that's been knocking on the door the whole time is now actually I'm willing to listen to it and let it guide me. So, thank God I've come to this point and I'm not still, stuck in the darkness, which is why you're here.
What
today.
comes to me though is that you don't come to this work that we're doing now out of nowhere. You don't come from a really egoic, lost soul type person to this work. There's usually stepping stones, aren't there? You know, usually you've done some meditation, or in our case, EAM, or something along the way that gets rid of that threshold, that break point, which is probably a whole load of energy reversals in EAM terms, that we'll keep bashing our head on, and we keep hitting it, knowing we want something different, but don't know how to get past that energy. So the other tools, you know, most of the people I know in this program have probably done a load of stuff before they get here. So they've worked their way through that resistance a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, I'd say this is a program for people who've kind of gone on the threshold, ready to kind of say, okay, yes, you know, I'm up for the hero's journey, and they're somewhere here in this part, on either side of the line. I mean, you could maybe not quite be there, but you know, you basically, you're ready to say, yeah, okay, enough's enough. If someone comes on and they're still very much stuck in their known world, they're just going to go, no, it's not for me. It's too much time, too much energy, too difficult, to find some reason not to do it. But if you've kind of done this, it sounds like, you know, Giselle and Nancy, you're kind of there, broken through the threshold, and you're somewhere here. And this is what it's about. This program then takes you kind of on the fast track, down the curve, faster than maybe your ego would like, into the abyss. I shouldn't be advertising it like that. It takes you into the abyss. That's the whole point. Yeah, because you got to let it all go, and it can feel like, oh my God, I'm losing my separate self. Terrible. But then, you know, there's other people who are on the program who've gone, oh, it's okay, it's all good. It's all good. Surrender to that. Just, you know, let go and let that happen. Because the quicker you can go through that, quicker you come out the other side, and then you'll go, actually, you know, that's what a relief to finally be free of that dreadful separate self that I thought was me, and to actually know who I am, and to be able to, you know, to live from that place. And then everything unfolds from that, you know, what you meant to do, your higher purpose, it all comes. But you gotta go through this. That's not pleasant. Anyone who tells you this is pleasant, it's really not. But it's necessary. There's no other way. But then to go through that. So I think, you know, both of you in the right place at the right time. And if you'd like to join us, there's two ways. So I have a masterclass, which Giselle, you've already registered for. It's happening in 3 weeks. Nancy, you're most welcome to join that. You're kind of getting a lot of what will be shared in the masterclass anyway here. So I'd encourage you, maybe if you feel the call, to jump into this program. I offer a 3-week free trial. Just jump in, join it, no cost, no obligation, and see how it works for you. You could also wait until next February when we start the program at day 1, because we're now day 272, I think. So it doesn't matter that much, because, you know, the concepts are universal, and there's, as you can see, you know, in this learning, you're learning something, and you're on day day 272, I think. Day 237, lesson 272. The reason for that is there's a course which takes up the first 35 lessons, which we start in February. So it's a, you know, universal, and you kind of, you realize it's not linear. This process isn't linear. So where you jump in doesn't actually matter ultimately, as long as you continue with the process. So yeah, just be guided. You know, whatever works for you. If you feel the call to jump straight in, then do that. Wait for the masterclass, or wait for next year.
Oh, don't wait, do it now.
Sally said, "No, wait, you know."
No, because you're here now, aren't you? Why would you put it off? Why would you wait?
Well,
calling's here now.
In 3 months, I can tell you, if you participate and you do this, you know, you'll have a lot of growth and a lot of shift.
I found that first 3 weeks was just phenomenal. It was just like incredible. I'd had no intention of coming on one of these calls, and somebody 5 minutes before a call said, we're just about to go online, do you want to come and see what it's about? And I had no intention of joining any programs. And I went on it, and just something told me, yeah, this is interesting. Something's here for me. And that first 3 weeks, it was like I was bowled over. It was like, oh my God, who'd have thought this was here? So, I'd been playing with the Course in Miracles, but I didn't understand it at all. And so, coming on here, Jono kind of makes it all, ties it in with all the truths and all the other aspects that you hear about, Eckhart Tolle talking about his stuff, and you kind of slip it in, don't you, Jonathan? And you go, oh, well, that's linked with that, and that word means that, and in Vedanta they do that, and that's mindfulness. And yeah, it's been really helpful kind of putting the truth. It was been like a puzzle all being put together. It's been really good.
Well, you start to get over the fragmentation and the separation of the ego and say, look, it's actually just one truth. It's one journey, just like Joseph Campbell said, it's one truth. And all of these different paths are just saying the same thing in different ways. And when you see that very clearly, it's like, it's not really separate at all. There's only one universal truth, just different ways, different modalities of discovering that. And so I guess what I do is I just put it together and I say, well, look there and look there, and you'll see the same truth everywhere. And so then instead of just, I'm just A Course in Miracles and that's all I do, and I exclude everything else. And there are people who do that. In fact, I've been excluded from one of the Course in Miracles kind of groups in the UK, because apparently I'm not pure enough in the Course in Miracles. Because I did a Vipassana retreat and I'm like looking at Advaita, and I'm like, well, because it's all interesting and it's all saying the same thing ultimately. But if that resonates with you, then I think you'll enjoy the program, because I pull in stuff from all different strands, and I use YouTube videos and people like Eckhart Tolle and quotes from philosophers and artists and scientists, and you go, but it's all the same thing. That's the whole point. It's all one truth. And then then the lights start to go on. You go, it's always been there. I just haven't seen it. So that's my particular, interpretation. And if you like it, then the program's going to be for you. And some people don't. Some people want pure Course in Miracles, in which case, well, they want to do it on their own, in which case, it's probably not. This program's not going to work for you. But most people seem to need some interpretation, some guidance to help them really reveal what this amazing teaching is saying. Okay, so let's carry on. Cycle back to Giselle. This shows you what you and others may consider to be worthless.
This shows that what you and others may consider to be worthless may actually be a masterpiece, just waiting to emerge when someone has the vision to see it for what it really is, and the skill to do what's necessary to reveal its true value.
And that someone is you.
Yeah.
Only you can do it for yourself. You become the sculptor of your own life. Say, okay, I will consciously choose this, to chip away and be patient and skillful, and let this higher vision of myself unfold.
I think for me it was like, okay, you're learning from other masters or other modalities, or that it's opening up to a variety of different learnings, and what resonates for you you'll take on, what doesn't, you're not going to take on. In terms of the journey of us getting to the core of who we actually are. And that for me, it's amazing what we see in others that they don't see in themselves. And it's so great because they will see in us what we don't see in ourselves. So when they say, oh, but you did it, and you look and you think, gosh, how do you see that? I don't see that. And it's just that, that it's interesting when that dynamic goes on, because then you are shown that you have got, well, when somebody reveals and they say, well, I see this and this and this and this in you, and you're not actually seeing it in yourself, it makes you think.
It's a mirror effect.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what happens a lot in this program. People mirror in a helpful way. So they'll show you something maybe you don't want to see, And they'll also say, but I see in you, that masterpiece. I see that. And I encourage you to go for that. There's not many people who say, you're a masterpiece. You're absolutely perfect. You're the Christ. And people go, no, I won't tell you that. I'll focus on all of your flaws and your problems. Whereas here, we're all like, well, there's no competition because guess what? It's all the same. We're all the same. I'm the same as you. No one's any different. And it's just coming to that ultimate realization that it's really right now, it's one mind discovering itself right now, real time. I mean, isn't that an amazing thought? One mind that seemingly separate in these seemingly separate forms, discovering itself, who it really is. And when you realize that's what's going on, you're tapping into a universal process, universal purpose that way transcends anything your ego can come up with. It's much deeper and more meaningful. Okay, so moving on. Similarly, your task, Nancy, if you want to read that one.
Similarly, your task is to chip away at or let go of the rough edges of what you think of as yourself that may take the form of guilt, fear, anger, hatred, jealousy, and any other negative thought or emotion, to patiently, symptomatically, and progressively reveal the true self, or in A Course in Miracle terms, the Christ in you that is perfect, whole, complete, and unconditionally loving.
So that's what the Christ is. Christ is, they mistake Christ for a person. He was Jesus the Christ because he attained that state of mind. But that Christ is a universal self that he just epitomized, that he symbolized, and said, "Well, I've done this to show you that it's possible for you. That's the whole point. I'm the way shower. Follow my way. Those who follow, the way to me is the only way to the Father is through me." What he meant was follow my example, not worship me, not put me on a pedestal and say, "Oh Jesus, thank you for saving me and dying for my sins." And but no, become like him. That was the call, and then of course it's got misinterpreted. It's much easier to go, "Oh well, all you've got to do is accept this figure into your life, and then you're saved." Much easier than, no, well, actually, you've got to go on this whole hero's journey, and you've got to become like him, and there's a whole lot of stuff you've got to go through, and it's not necessarily going to be easy and simple. So it's been dumbed down in a way that isn't helpful over centuries to try and make it easier for people. But there's no getting around it. It's not easy to undo their separate self. Is going to be challenging, no matter what teaching you're doing. So then the Buddhists call it skillful action. You want to read that one, Sally? That's what it's called, skillful action.
Skillful action by the Buddhists, and in what Yeshua is training you to do every day with his simple yet powerful mind training lessons in the Course in Miracles workbook.
So he gives us these daily lessons, which is the practice of it. So there's the theory, which is the text, and there's other bits like clarification of terms, which we're dealing with now, and then the practice is the workbook. And so it's contemplating and applying these ideas into your life. And he's asking you to meditate on these things morning and evening, and frequently in the day. Interrupt your ego's normal way of thinking to introduce this this alternative idea. And this is today's one. So every day there's a very simple lesson, and again I retranslate it. So Sally, if you want to read the original and then the translated version.
How can illusions satisfy God's Son? Alternatively, how can illusions satisfy me as perfect love's extension?
And so you see in the reinterpretation, maybe something else reveals itself, doesn't it? How can illusion satisfy God's Son? Some people go, okay, I don't really, Son of God. Jesus was apparently the only Son of God according to the Christians. So that sort of triggers that whole thing. God doesn't really have a son because God is not a father, in it's language that's traditional Christian, that's a pointer to something, that means, it's certainly not pointing to any kind of human dynamic, human understanding of what it means to be a son. So then I just change it. Say, well, how can illusion satisfy me as perfect love's extension, right? So God is perfect love, and the Son of God is the extension of that loving presence. Now that starts to make hopefully more sense.
Well, it will do. It will do over the course of time.
Yeah.
At first, it feels like it's like learning a new language, but I think by saying perfect love, we all understand perfect love, and it stops that feeling when I say God. It's like I hit God, and it's like, hit the word God, and it's like, oh, doesn't quite sit with me. But when I say perfect love, it kind of flows through me. So yeah, you do get used to it. It might seem strange at first, but the first week or couldn't grasp it, but then it sunk in and started making sense.
Yeah, I mean, good point there. For most people, God is conceptual. God is intellectual idea. It's got a lot to do with their conditioned past. We've all usually had experience of some religious upbringing. Most in the Western world, it's Christianity, but it could be Islam or any sort of traditional version of God. Seems to be a God outside of you. That's quite scary, actually, quite fearful. There's sort of this idea that God's going to punish you if you don't do the right thing. And so that all comes into the word. And that's not necessarily helpful for shifting someone's mindset. So just translate it, more perfect love. Okay, perfect love is much more open. You probably don't have any negative associations with perfect love. For most people, love is a very positive word, and we put perfect there because it's not the ego's version of imperfect. I love you if you do this for me, but I don't love you if you don't perform as I want you to. That's conditional love. It's the unconditional. I love you, because of who you are, who you truly are. That's why I begin, every greet everyone as namaste. The love I am sees the same love in you. It's that divine love, that coming from the true self, that we're trying to bring forth, to connect with through these lessons. So every day gives another way of doing that, different language, different angle, because he knows that your mind would get bored if it was exactly the same lesson every day. You just tune out of it. So it's changed, but it's the same message, just said quite skillfully in different ways to help you to connect with that source ultimately. So let's have a look at the lesson then, shall we?
I'll leave you.
You said you had to go.
I've got to pop off. Yeah, I've got a client now. I hope you have a lovely session, guys, and I'll be back on Monday. See you then.
Okay. Well, thanks
Bye.
for joining us.
Bye, Sally.
Bye.
Yeah. So Giselle and Nancy, we can continue. We do the lesson and then a meditation generally, and then there's some teaching from the clarification of terms. But if we don't get there, then let's just try and do the lesson and the meditation. If you're okay with that. How can illusions satisfy God's Son? How can illusions satisfy me as perfect love's extension? It's the translation. And in fact, maybe you should have a look. It's 5 paragraphs. How long can you both stay until 3? Is that okay?
Yeah, 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So we've probably got time to do 5 paragraphs and the lesson and then a meditation.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Nancy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is a little insert, little teaching before the lesson that Yeshua's asking us to read frequently, and it's very related to today's quote. What is the Christ? So he gives us these teachings to help us understand. What does this actually mean? What does this term mean? So so Giselle, if you can read the original. So this in unitalicized and in black is the original text from the Course in Miracles, and then alternatively there's the translation. So read the original, and then we'll translate it, and you'll see how the translation works.
Okay. Christ is God's Son as he created him. He is self-aware. He is the self we share, uniting us with one another and with God as well. He is the thought which still abides within the mind, that is his source. He has not left his holy home, nor lost the innocence in which he was created. He abides unchanged forever in the mind of God.
Okay, so notice how that felt. You read it. Did anything drop? Did anything penetrate? Was it a bit inexplicable to you?
I've got a blockage with the word God. It's as simple as that. I just really do, and that's because of the way the whole thing around church and God and teachings and all that sort of stuff as was a child. So I've got a major blockage there.
Which a lot of people do. You're not the only one. And so they'll read that and they'll just feel like, I'm not penetrating through the language. It's just...
No, it doesn't.
Like a brick wall. It's like hitting a brick wall, which is sad because then they get turned off the course and they go, no, it's not for me. So we translate it. This is the alternative version in another language. So read that and see how that resonates with you.
Your true self is perfect love's extension as it extends itself. It is the self-love we share, uniting us with one another and with pure formless awareness of perfect love as well. It is the thought which still abides within the mind that is its source. It has not left its holy home, nor lost the innocence in which it extends. It abides unchanged forever in the mind of perfect love.
Yeah, so how did that sit with you? Anything?
Well, the learning that I'm coming through, and then what I'm, in terms of the courses and stuff I've realized that in many ways, our actual true sense of home is actually within us. It's just the fact that we've looked for, if you like, the home externally of us. And so I can resonate that with more in the fact that I'm coming home to myself. And it's just that I'm taking quite a scenic journey in getting there. And it's all the as we talked about, as the chipping away, and as I'm going along, and it's getting to that core sense of who I am, which is within me,
which is God. So you see how we translate God. God is either perfect love, if it's a possessive, pure formless awareness of perfect love's extension is a bit of a mouthful, so I just shorten it to perfect love. Son of God is the extension, so you're the extension of this love. It makes a lot more sense than you're the Son of God to me. And so this is your true self, capital self. This is your true self, and this self brings you to more and more of an awareness. So we call it pure formless awareness, perfect love. That is God. That's the full version of God. It is your own awareness of perfect love. When you have that awareness, then your mind is one with God. But it brings it back to your inner experience. God is not some concept outside of you, some being that's outside of your mind. It's your own deepest awareness of who you are, which is perfect love. It's awareness of awareness itself. And if ever you've experienced that, which I have briefly, you'll know what I mean. It just is. I came up with the name Pure Formless Awareness after quite a deep mystic experience I had after 10 days of 9 days actually of was on day 9 of a Vipassana silent meditation retreat. So it's like 12 hours a day of meditation. And then I just went into the state for not very long, but it was just pure awareness. That's all I could say. It was lovely, beautiful, peaceful. And then, as a result of having even a moment of that, really the entire Course in Miracles, which I'd been studying for like 15 years at that point, just dropped for me. I was like, I get it. I understand exactly what it's about now because I'd had that experience. So God is an experience. It's your own awareness of perfect love. Rather than some concept that's out there, it's right in here. And Christ is the true self, the one self that you identify with, your higher self concept that reveals that to you. So now it starts to make sense. This whole Holy Trinity thing, I'll show you a diagram. So I use these diagrams for teaching purposes to try and get you to understand this. So you're familiar with the Christian Holy Trinity idea, yeah? Except that most Christians have no idea what that actually means. Ask them to ask a priest to explain the Holy Trinity, and they'll probably get themselves into a great muddle because they don't understand it. But actually what it is, it's an operating system for your mind. It's a way of understanding the seemingly separated mind and helping you to bridge the gap between the separated self and this pure experience of what we call pure formless awareness, perfect love. So at the very top, the apex, the beyond which you cannot go, is this, what we call, there's many terms for it: God, Father, heaven, love, oneness, eternity, pure formless awareness, perfect love, source, knowledge, beingness. You could go on. There's many names for it. Infinity, the ground of being, philosophers have called it. Couldn't fit them all in, but there's a lot of names for this. That's the ultimate, infinite, absolute, the essence of what we're all looking for, right? But it's so abstract that how do we find that? Because it's just an awareness in our mind that's beyond all normal thought, right? There's no dualistic thought. There's no sense of a separate me and then something that the me is perceiving. Okay, so it collapses duality. There's no I and no other in this, and that's a pure experience. So it's quite mystical. It's quite unattainable for a lot of people. It sits at the top of all of this. So then the question becomes, from your seemingly separated self, being human, experiencing yourself as a separate human being, experiencing the things and the places and the events and the circumstances and the situations and the traumas and the successes and the failures and all the ups and downs and all the experiences that seem to exist and happen in the physical universe of time and space. And so that's kind of where you start. We all start there. That's where we think we are. From that point of view, how do you now come to this awareness? That's the question. And that's what any good spiritual teaching and practice is designed to help you to do, to come from a separated awareness into the one awareness. And this Holy Trinity idea is there to help you to do that. So the Holy Spirit is this arrow. I've symbolized as an arrow, is the remembrance of this oneness or perfect love. Okay, so it remembers it, but it can also help you to perceive what's going on here. So the Holy Spirit can reinterpret all of the people and the things and the places and events and circumstances of your life from the perspective of oneness. So that's what it does. So it can interact with the dream. It doesn't believe in any of this. This is all a dream, an illusion, but it just reinterprets it. So now you have what's called true perceptions, right, from the Holy Spirit. Christ's vision, which is coming from a self-concept. That's a higher self-concept. Right? So Yeshua gives us this idea that there's a true self, or a Christ, or the Son, or the extension, or the Buddha, or the Atman. In different teachings have different names for it. But there's something in the middle here, a true self that can now perceive with the Holy Spirit, perceive from the state of oneness, and reinterpret everything for you. And this reinterpretation is called many things: true perceptions, Christ's vision. Of course, it's called miracles, whole awareness through forgiveness. It's called letting go. It's called surrender. It's called salvation. It's called at-one-ment. It's called enlightenment. It's a process. It's a process of reinterpreting your experience from the perspective now of the one self. And that one self, the more that you do the reinterpretation, the more you strengthen the sense of the one self, the more you come into communication with the Father or the Source, which is that experience. So this self-concept of the Christ, the one self, the true self, brings you more and more of the experience of pure formless awareness or perfect love. And so it delivers you ultimately to that pure experience, which is the end of the road. That's the end of the journey. When you're delivered back to that experience and that experience alone, and you rest in that experience for all eternity, then you've come home. That's home. But you need a way home. And so the Holy Trinity is a way home. And I like what Yeshua's done, because he's made it a bit easier than some other teachings. So the Buddha said, well, there is no self. It's the doctrine of anatta. There's no self. So there was no intermediary self here. He just said there's no self. There's only this state of nirvana. He called it nirvana, which is the pure formless awareness of perfect love. Same thing. There's only this. And when you realize there's no self, then you'll just have this. But for most people, especially in a Western environment, you're coming from the seemingly separate self, that's incredibly frightening, to think that you're going to go into the void and there's no self. So he's giving us a true self, the Christ, to be able to help us to reinterpret and perceive everything in our seemingly human experience differently. And that's going to bring more and more of an experience of this oneness naturally into our mind. And so it becomes a system you can operate in this world. It's not so abstract that you can't actually live here. Because if you're saying, well, there's only this, how then do you perceive your life? How do you actually function in the world of time and space and duality? And that's the question. And so in my view, this is the the best operating system, which is why I teach it, because it's practical, it's doable. You can actually live quite a functional life here, and you just reinterpret it, everything from this true self. It's still able to perceive the dream, but doesn't believe that it is the dream. It's not lost in the dream. It doesn't identify with the dream. It helps you to perceive it from another higher self. And then more and more, this experience of the pure formless awareness that underlies it all arises more and more in your mind. You find more peace and more love and more flow coming into your experience of life. So that's the ultimate source of it. And that then that's the Holy Trinity: God the Father united with the Son, being the true self, to correct all of your perceptions through this Holy Spirit part of your mind, which allows you to reinterpret everything. So that's kind of, I've given you 5 minutes or 10 minutes, a very quick kind of overview, but that's that's the system we're studying. That's a system of mind transformation. That's what the Holy Trinity is. And the reason we use these different concepts is because from a separated point of view, they're helpful. While you think you're a separate self, the Holy Trinity is useful. In the end, the Holy Trinity will disappear, because in perfect oneness, there's no need for any sense of separation. There's no Father and Son and Holy Spirit or Christ self. None of those concepts are necessary, but they're necessary while we're here to help us to get back to this pure experience of pure formless awareness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in my understanding, because obviously I've only just cracked my seed and cracked the nut open of connecting more to my spiritual self. And so the way I'm understanding it, and because that's purely because of the modalities that I'm learning through, is that my physical presence, my body, my being is like your 3D world. You get the 4D world, and then the 5D world is at the top there. And it's that alignment of your body, mind, and spirit. And so it's kind of tuning in more to your own self-awareness and intuition, and listening more to your actual soul than going against that. And so I still, like, as you were going through all of that and you're saying it, and I'm thinking, yep, the resistance that's coming up within my body is quite huge. And I'm going to be honest with you that I know where it's come from, though. However, I'm aware of it, and I'm sitting with it, and I'm allowing it, and I will allow it to come in with the way that I can sit with it and I can be comfortable with it. And so that's part of that, that when you go back to the actual diagram of the transformation and the challenges and the
hero's journey
coming up. And
so exactly.
Exactly, the challenges and all those temptations. However, I'm at a stage of, I'm open to learning, because that's where I'm at. I'm transforming, and I'm not going to, how can I say, there's something that will really sort of resonate with you, and I can accept and I think, yes, yes, yes. And for me, I identify with, yes, I'm living in this physical, because we are a physical form, although we're 70% water, and we've got to interact. And however, I know that for myself, I'm connecting to a much higher, or the spiritual world and the universe. And I get that we are all one, because the soul that I have is living in this physical form. However, it is a soul, it's a spirit.
Well, yes, so this is where it gets interesting. So are you a soul? Do you have any kind of separate identity, or are you just perfectly one? See, where the Course in Miracles takes you is beyond any separation at all. There is no separation in this, right? It's one awareness. It's a singular awareness that underlies it all. So the true self, the Christ, the Atman in the Hindu teachings called Atman, which is the soul. That's sort of their translation of it. But it's a higher self concept. But it's the same. It's the same for everyone. No one has an individual soul. You see, there's only one Christ. There's only one self, because there's only one God. There's only one true awareness, one source of everything, which is where this all leads to. So this is a non-dual path. What it means is there is no duality. Non-dual means not two. They are not two. There's no separation. There is only one singular awareness, ultimately. That's the source. It's the source of your awareness. It's the source of my awareness. It's the source of every awareness. It's the foundation of all life. Without that awareness, there would be no what we call life. There could be no form. There could be no separate people and animals and plants, and none of this could exist without that singular awareness. Okay, source. And our job as true spiritual people on our hero's journey is to find that awareness. That's the source we were looking for. That's the Holy Grail. And this teaching returns us to source. It doesn't. There's no, oh, well, you're gonna stay here, or you're gonna stay here. It's ultimately designed to restore you to this awareness and this awareness alone. He's saying only this awareness ultimately is true. Everything else ultimately is illusion. It's not true. So any sense of a separate self and any sense of separation is ultimately not true, and must be undone in the mind to restore you to this awareness. So the ego is going to be terrified at that. The resistance will be huge, but that's the ultimate truth that underpins all the great spiritual teachings and teachers. They've all said the same thing. There's one awareness, a singular awareness. We call it God, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's beyond name. And it cannot be destroyed. It's completely indestructible. It doesn't matter what you think you've done to destroy that, to damage it. We've all done our best to seemingly undo this, and we can't. It's not possible. Right? It's beyond harm. It's invulnerable. It's changeless, and it's what's calling you. So it's calling you to know itself. It's saying, I want to be known by you, because this is its only purpose. It wants every mind to know it as itself. That's the universal program of one-ment. That's why in Hero's Journey, we're all moving to the same place of one-ment, where we realize we are one with the source, and there really is no separation, and there's no distinction between me and any other. So my separate self is gone, and I simply am this, this whole awareness. But there's a process to that, and so Yeshua takes us on a process, and he gives us these ideas and these practices like forgiveness or letting go, to help us to more and more have the experience of this. So it's not a concept; it's your own experience. When I had that that mystic experience, it was so clear to me, well, afterwards on reflection, that this was just an experience. It's your own pure experience, and no one can give that to you. You can talk conceptually about God until the cows come home, and people have, and none of it matters until you've had the experience of it.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's your own awareness, becoming aware of your own awareness. So it becomes an experiential journey, and no one can really give you that experience. there's teachings and there's practices and there's the teachers that can be helpful in facilitating that experience for you. But in the end, it's your own journey, it's your own experience, and you'll come to that experience when you're ready. So it's all within you, and that's, to come back to this lesson and the text. The design of the word is to point you into that experience more directly, so that you have more of a direct experience of that than something conceptual in the mind, which the original text seems to lend itself to more a conceptual understanding, whereas the translation is more pointing you to your own experience of it, which is why we do it. It's a lot of work. I do this every day, but I think it's really valuable because it opens this teaching up to people in a way that it wouldn't have been open to them, and helps them to have the experience that it was designed to help you experience. It's designed to bring you into that experience. So that seems to be what the translation does, from not just from my own experience, but from most people who join this program. Okay, so any comments, questions, thoughts about number 1? We'll move on to number 2. So Nancy, if you can read the original and then the translation after that.
Christ is the link that keeps you. Oh, which one am I reading?
Sorry, just went down the top one.
Christ is the link that keeps you one with God and guarantees that separation is no more than an illusion of despair, for hope forever will abide in him. Your mind is part of his and his of yours. He is the part in which God's answer lies, where all decisions are already made and dreams are over. He remains untouched by anything the body's eyes perceive, for though in him his Father placed the means for your salvation, yet does he remain the self who, like his Father, knows no sin.
Okay, thoughts on that? Anything?
Yeah,
kind of...
don't really connect with that. I've got the Course in Miracles, and I find it really hard work.
Yeah, because of the language, Father.
Because of the language, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so try this. Alternatively, your true self.
Your true self is the link that keeps you one with pure formless awareness of perfect love, and guarantees that separation is no more than an illusion of despair, for hope will abide in it forever. Your mind is part of it and it's of yours. It is the part in which perfect love's answer lies, where all decisions are already made and dreams are over. It remains untouched by anything the body's eyes perceives, for though its source placed in, it means for you awakening, yet it remains the self who, like its source, knows no sin.
Okay. Did the translation help?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, so we'll unpack it a bit. So let's look at it, because this is what we do in these sessions, to have a look at it and say, okay, so your true self is the link that keeps you one with pure formless awareness of perfect love. Does that make sense?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, so it's a self-concept, true self here, that keeps you one, right? The more, if you think that I'm one self, it keeps you aware of this awareness. You're not now disconnecting from this awareness and separating yourself off from this awareness. The idea of you being a one self and that everyone shares the same self allows this awareness to be there in your mind. Would you see that? Because as soon as you say I'm separate, this pure formless awareness cannot be there. You've separated from it. So that's why he's saying this true self is the link. It keeps you one with this awareness. So even while you're operating in time and space, this awareness is still there in the background. You haven't forgotten that. And that awareness, it comes through as a deep kind of peace. It's a knowing, it's calm, it's all the things we want that allow us to maintain our calm and our composure and our peace, even when things can get very challenging in the dream. So the true self reinterprets the dream guarantees that separation is no more than an illusion of despair. For hope will abide in it, the true self, forever. Okay, so this is eternal. The Christ is eternal because it's the higher self concept. It can't die. It will always be there. So no matter what the ego has invented on this level, no matter what's kicking off in your life, the events, circumstances, trauma, successes, failures, etc., the whole human story, the drama, the idea that you one self transcends that, and it keeps you one with the awareness that's behind it, the pure formless awareness of perfect love. And so you realize from that perspective that this is all illusion. It doesn't really matter. None of it really matters that much, because this is still true. And you stay rooted in that awareness. So it's very helpful to have this changeless self, knowing that no matter what's changing in your life, this is still the truth. Okay, and then he says your mind is part of its and it's of yours. Right? So there's really only one mind. This is all one, ultimately one awareness. Right? You are that awareness, and it's your true mind. There's ultimately no separation. That awareness just wants to be known by you, so that you acknowledge it, you recognize it, and eventually you merge with it. There's no sense of being at all separate from this awareness, but that is a process. So it's a part of your mind. We seem to have split our mind, so we seem to have these different parts. But this self, true self, the Christ, is the part in which perfect love's answer lies, where all decisions are already made and dreams are over. It's the part that knows that you are this, and that you rest in this eternally, and this is your true home. And it has no doubt about that. So all decisions in time and space, there seem to be decisions to be made. There's all this stuff going on, but the true self knows that ultimately this awareness is what it is, and there's no decision to be made because you're already there. And so it transcends all the illusions that you've made up. So it remains untouched by anything the body's eyes perceive. So whatever your eyes and your ears and whatever your senses perceive, that's part of a construct. That's part of the illusion that the separate self has invented to keep you separated, you see. So that's what this teaching is saying. It's a veil of illusion that's been used to cover over this higher self concept and the pure formless awareness of perfect love. So when I had that experience that I mentioned at the Vipassana retreat, it was very clear that everything we've done is just the self concept, this false self, projecting out into this illusion of a world, which is why it's called a veil. And it's just designed to justify a whole lot of thoughts and emotions that keep you away from this awareness, that cover over that awareness. That's the only purpose of the world. So your self-concept and the world that you perceive through your senses are one. So now what Yeshua's saying is the only way out of this predicament you got yourself into is to reinterpret the dream. You must change your perception of it. And so as you change your perception, you reinforce another self, right? That self is the Christ, your true self. And so more and more that true self's arising, and you're undoing the old self concept. That is the problem. The problem is you have a false self concept that's projected out into the world, and that's now showing you all the chaos and the difficulties and the challenges and the suffering and the pain and the death in the world is a projection of your own self concept. The false self-concept, the separated self. So the way out of all of this in the red box is to change your self-concept. And that's what this teaching is helping you to do. Upgrade it first before you can accept pure formless awareness of perfect love, which is beyond any concept. Accept that you are one self rather than a separate self. Accept that there's really nothing special about you because you're the same as everyone else. We all come from the one source. So you let go of the belief in your specialness, your individuality, your uniqueness, that separate identity, and then you're ready for the experience of pure formless awareness of perfect love. But as long as you hold on to the separate self-concept, that this experience will be denied to you, and you will still believe in this world of time and place because this is the projection of that self-concept that reinforces and perpetuates that self-concept. So we get caught up in the hamster wheel, going round and around and around, getting stuck in our false self-concept. And this is about freeing you from that self-concept. Question?
Yeah, I mean, there's just lots coming up for me. I think, okay, if we were all one, then why are we all so unique as we are as individuals?
But is that the truth?
Well, is this the truth?
Well, that's what you got to decide, haven't you? What is the truth? No one can tell you.
And that's where I think for me, it's like I can accept that my soul, I have my soul, and Nancy has her soul, you've got your soul. We're all individual souls, but we are part of the source. We are part of source, because the highest concept is actually source.
So maybe in that source, the idea of a separate soul dissolves. There's no separate soul anymore.
Absolutely, I agree. It's we are all. I get that we are all connected. Every one of us are connected. That I can accept that, and I can accept the fact that living in this 3D world that we're living in, there is an illusion, because we create all the illusions and the veils. Because strangely enough, through the releasing of the work that we're actually doing, we actually use that terminology. We are releasing the illusion, the veils, the cords, the attachments, the books, every single thing, because what we're doing is pulling away the layers in terms of what we view as our reality now, and opening up to a different reality, and a more clarity. And so with the, how can I say, the unlayering. So for example, I know now that I am a lot more peaceful, I'm a lot more calm, I'm a lot more, and that's because of the work that I've actually been doing on myself. And I accept that I am connected to this awesome universe. I think for me, I'm not, okay, well, that's God and that's Christ and whatever it is. To me, I can accept as I am now on that transforming thing.
On the wheel, yeah.
Yeah, I can accept that I am part of this unique, beautiful universe that we have. And I am my own unique person and my own unique soul.
But that's not ultimately true.
Well, that's what my truth is for me at the moment.
Yeah, and that's the journey. It's like, okay, yes, to acknowledge that there's something else is huge. To say like, okay, there's actually something else.
I do, and that for me, believe me, because you spoke to me about God, Christ, or anything like any church. I'm not interested in that. I'm just really, really not. No.
Tuned out.
And that's purely because of the conditioning that I was brought up in. And so I'm having to learn to release that and let me look at it with my way and my learning, and kind of, I can see the beauty of the world that we live in. I can see the beauty of, and so I'm connecting. So there's like that little bit of layering.
It's
so
a
I can
process.
kind of, see. I'd be interested to know what Nancy's got to say on this.
Yeah. Nancy, any thoughts?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around all of this still.
Well, don't expect to get it in one session.
No.
It's very deep and profound. It's taken me years and years to really understand that I am one, that there is no separation at all. This is the ultimate realization. At the very top of the ladder, all the mystics, all the saints, the avatars, the masters say, I am one. I am that presence. There's a unification of the Father and the Son, and they realize, I am it. So they'll say things like, I am God. If we look at this little diagram, I'll show you. So I reference to, as Sally said, to other teachings. So that's a manual that we use in the first 6 weeks, but I refer to it quite often. So where we map of consciousness. So this is okay. don't know why we did that. Just decided to go into something else. So we'll just scroll down there. For some reason, didn't like that link. There we go. Okay, so this map of consciousness is created by a guy called David Hawkins. Don't know if you know him.
I've got his book, and that's,
yeah, Power versus Force.
This is what like EAM is based on. Is you've got the low level feelings, and then you've got the mid level feelings, and then you've got the higher sense of feelings, and that's higher, and that's the whole thing. Yeah.
So at the highest level, God view is self, right? I am that. I am that I am. I am that presence. And there is no unique self. There's no separate soul. I am just that one presence. And every person who's ever come into this higher state of enlightenment has said the same thing. It might describe it in different ways. But they just say, I am that I am. It's beyond what you can really describe.
Yeah.
State that is ineffable, as he says, indescribable, of pure consciousness. We use different language. I use pure awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. And you realize I am that and nothing else. There is nothing else. And so that's the very top. But as you journey through the levels, you're basically working through the self concept and any idea that you are a separate self. And that is a process. To really let go of that separate self is the journey to ultimately realize, well, there is no separate self. There never was. You've just dropped all of that. And that's what a pure non-dual teaching is aimed at. His aim is to deliver you into this experience. So you realize experientially, that I am that I am. That's by the way, the original name of God in the Bible. When Moses went into the bush, at the burning bush experience, he said, well, what should I say? I'm going to go back and say I had this experience. Who spoke to me? And this presence awareness said, I am that I am. So simple. I'm not something, I'm not this and I'm not that. I am that I am. You are it. That's the whole point. And it's it's the realization of that. That's the journey. So if this doesn't fully land for you right now, that's
I think what the thing is, John. I think that it's not landing because we at a different stage of our transformation. However, exactly. It doesn't say that I can't accept that that's where, and because that it's our journey, and the fact that for me, it's sort of my mind is really open to this, and the map of consciousness there. Strange enough, we use it the coaching course that I'm actually on. That's exactly what she refers to. She talks about the formless, and she talks about the self-concept. So all the language is very, very kind of similar, and is referred to the David Hawkins map of consciousness, because ultimately, when we consciously, when we actually, our brain is just so dynamic, it's unreal. But when we consciously, we're making choices from a conscious, consciously being aware of every moment and every day, which is quite a hard thing. But it's just that. So I think the thing is that the lesson of where it is, that's kind of blown our minds, because it's like, hang on a minute, I can't kind of, that's not for me at the moment. However, I can accept that that's where
you're going.
Yeah. I'm kind of like, I've cracked it, and it's okay. I'm learning, and it's that unveiling, because when I look back to June of last year, and I look at now, I can see the clarity and unveiling of
of who you really are, just unfolding.
Well, and I mean, there's still many layers, and there's still many things. However, I'm just enjoying the journey of the enlightenment, really, of because there was something so deep within me. Yes, as you say, you can have millions in the bank, you can have the most plushest home, you can have whatever, everything, but there's the core in home, us in self, that is not happy. And you really then have to go inward and say, well, okay, what is it? And it's coming home to you. And strange, in our course, that's what we are taught. You just literally coming home to yourself. And once you actually accept, this is So I'm not saying I can't, but at the moment, I think in terms of my journey, I can't speak for Nancy, but that is just a bit, it's too much for me at the moment.
Yeah, but it's a process. So
Yeah.
you go, okay, well, I understand, but I just keep working and chipping away, and it will reveal itself in time. Every single person who's ever attained enlightenment said the same thing. So they can't all be wrong. They all said, this is where it ends up. You have this ineffable pure awareness, pure formless awareness. And having experienced that, not for very long, just maybe only a minute or two, who knows?
Yeah.
Don't know what the time was, but it was like, oh my God, what was that? Suddenly everything just disappears, and you're not asleep, you're aware, but you're aware of awareness. It's just, there's nothing, but there's everything. It's again, you can't really, it's ineffable because you can't describe it. All you can say, it was pure formless awareness.
Yeah. And I think what's the other thing is actually you are becoming more and more aware. There's no going back. There's only going forward. And I think, as we said much earlier on within the session, it is a slow process. It's not just taking a hammer and cracking it and blowing it to bits. It's literally just slowing, because it's like, right, okay, what's today going to teach me? What is today going to show me? What's going to be revealed? And that's, I think for me, that's where I'm at. Each day for me is like, okay, let's see what reveals today. Tomorrow's, I'm not promised. However, if I wake up and I'm enjoying, and I wake up and tomorrow I'll embrace whatever is being shown to me, and sort of coming up, and that awareness. And I think that's what the beauty about this is. And we all come at this in a very, very different ways, and it's very interesting. It's just that I think I was certainly tuned into my complete and utter resistance around what we were reading, and then the whole thing. And I think, okay, I know that's where we're going, but for me, not at the moment. I know where I'm at, and I'm happy with where I'm at, and I'm happy with, okay, I know that there's so much more. I know that.
Well, it's just being open to the unfolding of it. That's all. So you don't stop yourself on the journey. Okay, so what's the next thing and the next thing? You let it all unfold for you. In this very guided, the beauty of this is quite a gentle process. That if you listen to the Holy Spirit, it's going to guide you, and it's not going to give you more than you can handle. So like every day there's a new lesson, new learnings, and you're just willing to just keep chipping away every day, and then more and more of this reveals itself. I've been doing this, working with the course for 16 years now. I mean, that's a long time.
Okay, yeah.
Daily, lessons every day. Spend thousands of hours, studying this material, teaching it. Like I've just immersed myself. So for me, it's like second nature. Yeah, of course, there's only one self. It's like but 16 years ago, I certainly wasn't there. I had all kinds of illusions about who I thought I was, and so on. So yeah, it's absolutely a process. And the point of this work, this daily work we do in the sessions, and the emails I send, and the text messages, it's all the chipping away, the chiseling away at the block. That's the stuff that needs to be released, so that you reveal this true self, systematically, progressively, at your own pace, in your own time. You have designed a program that you can do very intensely. Sally joins every day, but some people only join once a week. Okay, if that's what you want to do, and then they listen to the recordings. And so the material's there, and then you go at the pace you want to go. So that's why I offer a 3-week free trial. Jump into it, see if it works for you. That's all you can do. See if this particular flavor of the unfolding, the awakening journey works for you, and if it does, then great. It sticks, and you carry on. If not, well, it's 3 weeks and you learn something, and there's nothing lost. You will gain something from it, and then you continue on whatever journey you're on. So That's why I do the 3-week free trial, because this is ultimately this is a spiritual path. Course in Miracles is a path. And in the end, you end up saying, well, I don't need multiple paths. I only need one. That's part of the spiritual maturation. You go and you do the searching, and you can do all kinds of things. And then eventually you go, it's not actually about going wide and broad and finding bits here and bits here, bits there. It's about one path and going very deeply with that path into the truth to reveal myself. So that's where this will take you. It's ultimately a spiritual path, which you will find doesn't contradict any other true spiritual path. They very much, as Sally said, I reference to teachings like Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta, and because it's a universal truth. But you don't really need, you can't follow more than one path. It's not possible, because there's different things. They have different interpretations and different modalities and different practices, and you just don't have time for it all. So in the end, you've got to choose one. And I guess you're probably at the point of going, okay, so I'm looking around, I'm shopping around, what is my path? What is my path going to be? And that's a necessary, part of the exploration. So I'd say give it a go, dive into this, work with it for 3 weeks, and see what unfolds, and it'll either resonate or it won't. And there's no hard feelings either way. Like what I've done, I recognize will resonate with some people, and it won't with others, and that's how it goes. Not every path is designed for everyone. That's why we have different paths. So I'm completely accepting of that, and I don't really do any push marketing. I just let it organically unfold. People just come when they come, and they join if they want to join, and so we've developed a nice community of people who've all decided they want to be part of this, and they're benefiting from it on their journey. You're still in charge of your journey. The resources I provide are just there to help you along it.
Because we have like a very small group on a Thursday where we meet, and what I'll do, it's just that am I okay, the link that I shared with Nancy today and that Sally shared with me, can I pop that into our WhatsApp group?
No, absolutely.
And
that's
people say, look, what, this is
join.
What we do is we always share, well, I certainly try and share whatever we come across. At the end of the day, it's not about pushing it. It's just the fact that, look, there's something else there.
Yeah.
And
it's an invitation. It's like, welcome in, come check it out. And it may just be exactly what you're looking for. Or not.
However, it might be that at the moment that's not there. How I just need to go and I want to work on this a bit, and then coming back to it, because I recognize that, I can see where I'm at, and I see the resistance, and and it is about exploring, because at the end of the day, my journey is very brand new. Because I was literally, I've literally kind of come off the corporate bandwagon, and it's like, that's all I've known is that. However, I've always believed that there's something. There's so much more. There's more to this. What the hell? There is. And I accept that now is the time. And so I've really immersed into, okay, and there's other little things that I've jumped on, and I'm thinking, oh no, that doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't. And so it is, I'm very much at the exploration and open to other things. And it's not about believing just in one thing at the moment. It's what is feeling right, and really, and without the ego thing that's coming in, and just really letting it sit with, like, right, what is this teaching you? What am I open to? Because sometimes I do believe it's like the right thing will be presented to you when you're actually open to it. Because if you're close to it, no matter how much time you push and push and push, it ain't going to happen. In fact, that pushing is going to just make you even more resistant.
Yeah, exactly. So
because that's all I had as a child. I had God, Christ, church, the Bible, everything, and I mean, it was rammed down my throat. And then when you're going to nursery school, and you absolutely, oh my goodness, and even now, and then you go home, and what you've been taught and the behavior and the actions of what was so contradictory that for me, I just thought, what it was just like, no,
don't
so
want
I'm
anything.
just like, forget it, no way.
No,
you know.
no.
And then you listen to her. My mom professes to be a Christian, and then I watch her and observe her actions. She makes herself feel great in the fact that she feels, oh, I'm giving some money to the church, that's going to make me feel great. However, her actions and behavior are just so unchristian like. And then you just think, well, what's that about? And you get all that confusion that goes on around. And to me, this is about, okay, this is my journey. I've got to come to this. I want to come to it so that it's comfortable for me. I can really accept this. And strange enough, this whole week, every little thing, and this is why I believe that it's amazing, as you're going to open up a little bit more, this whole week for me, the messages have all come around about acceptance. And acceptance. And it's just, and it's, the right things always come out when you are open to things.
Yeah. So no accident you joined today. And we'll see where it goes. It's another phase of the hero's journey. If you'd like to
I'm gonna have to literally jump off at 3. I'm sorry about it, but but it's because I've got another thing at 4, and I want to go and do a few things before that. Because Nancy and I were going to have a different session altogether, but we'll rearrange that altogether. It's just that, I thought, oh, okay, let's just see. And, it's about learning something completely different. And that's what's so...
Well, so if you would like to jump in on the 3-week free trial, just let me know now, and I'll add you to a mailing list. I send out an email every day, and I send out a Telegram message as well. If you're on Telegram, I think you're on WhatsApp, aren't you? Not Telegram. If you join Telegram, that's the group runs on Telegram, and so you get it's the same. The Telegram message is a bit shorter. You get this email that you've just seen. So you get an email like this every day. It's a deep email. There's a lot of resources here, so you can see a lot of links. So that's your kind of spiritual go-to for the day. There's meditations, there's breath breaks, there's a whole program that I put together for you. So if you're not sure what to do, there's meditation in the morning, and it's like a daily schedule. So you get that, and then the Telegram message is a shortened version of this, basically the first bit, just giving you this teaching and the lesson. And then we do live sessions Monday to Friday, 12:30, and then one on Saturday Sunday evening as well. So you can jump into all of that. You can read the emails, join as many live sessions as you want, and you get 3 weeks of that to just check it out and see if this resonates. If you like to continue, or you can wait to do the masterclass, which is happening on the 23rd. It's fine. Up to you. As Sally said, well, why wait? Dive in. But that's just, it depends on where you're at. So, and the same for you, Nancy. That's an open invitation to both of you. If you'd like to jump in now, I don't have any details, Nancy. So I need to just get your details if you want to join, or join us again in one of these live sessions, or there's a masterclass on the 23rd. I'll just put the link in the chat. So Nancy, if you want to go register,
okay,
it's there. It's thealg.com. There you go. So if you go there, you can register for that masterclass. You'll get some emails in response. It'll have the login link to the masterclass, which is the same as for the live sessions every day. So you'll have that, some meditations and stuff, some extra resources you can use.
So is the masterclass the same as the 3-week free course?
So the masterclass is an introduction. It's
okay.
where I give you a sort of a 2-hour intro into this, and so you understand like what the program is. You've had quite a lot of that already, but it's in a different format, a bit more structured with a presentation. I bring in the hero's journey. That today was a bit more free flow. That's a bit more structured, but essentially to give people an idea. Okay, what is this? Like, and what can this do for me? What's the benefit of joining? And then I'm up for it. At the end of the masterclass, I'd like to join a 3-week free trial, or I'd like to wait until February when we start the program again from day one. Maybe you wait a couple of months. do it that way. So do join the masterclass. You'll get another look at this.
Okay.
But if you feel the call to jump in now, you can jump in and join us for 3 weeks before then. It's entirely up to you. Just ask for guidance.
Yeah.
And the same applies to you, Nancy. So if you'd like to join, just give me your details. I need your email address and mobile number, and I'll add you to the group, or go and register for the masterclass, and I'll get the details that way.
Okay.
Well, so you've got, there's my I'll give you my mobile number as well. So Nancy, if you want to text me, I'm on WhatsApp and Telegram on that. Any thoughts about this? If you'd like to join the free trial, you want to have a quick chat, then feel free to give me a ring or text me.
Okay, thank you.
And hopefully see you again. There's another session on Sunday evening at 8:30. So
okay.
join us again then.
Is it the same Zoom link all the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zoom link doesn't change. So I'll put that in here as well. In fact, this one will work. So you can post, if you want to post the direct Zoom link into your groups or whatever, it's the alg.club. So there's a redirect on that. The second one, alg.club, will redirect you straight into the Zoom room.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's an easy one to remember.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So would you like to join the free trial, or are you going to think about it?
I've signed up for the masterclass.
Yes.
And then I'll most likely join the 3-week free trial, from that, if you get my mean. So I keep it in sequence.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I know that's coming up because I have actually joined the masterclass.
Yeah.
And I think I've got the link for the masterclass. I can share that in our group as well.
Yes.
In our group.
Yeah. Please do. Yeah.
No, we'll do.
Yeah. Great. Because that's it's just about spreading the message. And what I found, I've done Google ads and stuff, didn't really work. What's effective is when someone knows and respects says, check it out, then they'll look at it and they'll do something about it. So that's you're most welcome to share it. And once if you join, I actually have got a little referral program, so you actually get some benefit for doing that, but you need to join the program yourself first. So but
Okay.
that's how it works.
Thank you. Very
okay. Any other questions? We kind of, it was a bit we didn't quite complete, but what we would normally do in a session is we'd complete this. So Nancy, you're welcome. I've got another half an hour, 25 minutes if you want to stay, or you're welcome to go. But we would normally finish this. Where are we? Lesson 272. We normally finish this. We'd read this teaching, and then do the lesson. So we go through the lesson, and then we meditate on it. And we went into a lot of background stuff today, so it took us longer. But normally we'd be done by sort of 2 or 3.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to say goodbye.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Hope
Take
to
care.
see you soon.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Right. I'm also going to.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
So Nancy, if you'd like me to send you an email with all of this, pop your email in the.
Oh, in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Just do it. Well, hang on. Just let me stop the live first. We don't want to share that with everyone else.
No.
Although it's like 3 hours into a session, it's unlikely